Welcome, welcome, welcome to The Doctors Are In. Oh boy, we are at it again to try to really make sense of the moment that we're in. And the moment that we're in an in-between phase, in-between state. We're not fully there, and we're most certainly not back there. However, to move forward, we're going to have to go. We got to do a reversal. We got to look for what's been left behind. We got to look for what's been left in the earth. We got to look for what was on the soil. What did our people leave on the soil in motherland? And how do we recapture the essence, even though we don't have the documents, even though we don't have many cases the language, but how do we draw from that? I think that one way is that if we understand that consciousness we share, especially people of the African diaspora, we have a shared African consciousness, which means even though we weren't physically back there, we're still connected to people that were. The interesting thing is that those we are connected to are not behind us, they're ahead of us. And so, but what is it that we need to connect with? By way of principle? Is that a way? By way of reflection? Is that a way? By way of practice? Is that a way? We've got to find some consensus that we can all draw from that live here in America that will unify us and help us move forward. And so anyway, we've been talking about a lot of different things, but we only have Dr. Brown for the first, I put you on the spot. He's going to grace us with the first hour here. And so, I'm
then like a basketball, he got to bounce.
Yeah, you're like a basketball, you got to bounce. So why don't you get us centered as we begin to, we're going to reflect on some of the things we talked about, but give us a centering meditation that will help us to think. Yes, sir.
Dr. Gardner. Now, my sister, Dr. Hyman, has been quiet for a moment, and I'm not going to shoot at her, but I'm going to shoot straight at you in your opening. You're asking.
Thank God it ain't me tonight. Glory to God.
I feel to all of our listeners, what Dr. Gardner presents, the answer lies in each and every one of us and you. My colleagues have been excellent scholars and scriptural, reaching into the scriptures and reaching into that history of the writings, but then every time we come right to our very presence, we're in the now. When you mention the African experience, the ancestral dynamic, guess what? It's in you. It's in you. I mean, you haven't got to go look back. It's in you.
Okay.
Now, sister girl, Dr. Hyman mentioned, we're talking about spiritual consciousness. Spiritual consciousness. Now, for me, and I can't say it for everyone else, but for me, spiritual consciousness is a experience of soul consciousness. I always find myself in meditations searching the consciousness of my soul, which I use an Indian word called Atma.
Atma.
A-T-M-A, or you can add an N to it if you so desire. But I take time out in silence and stillness to focus going within, related to even the teachings of Jesus the Christ, who says the kingdom is within you. Questions that you're asking about the diaspora, about all of that, is part of the historicity of the kingdom.
Okay. Okay.
So consequently, I have been having secretive experiences in meditation, and I keep them as secrets because when God relates to you in secret, you keep it in secret and you do not allow your ego to take it out and you go and testify and tell everything, not understanding that God, the energy of the spirit, is working with a relationship that we need to have individually with the divine. For me, spirituality is truly a eternal, immortal experience. I work with two kinds of thought processes. How do I get out of my mortality and get into immortality thought processing? This is something that I do. But I suggest to each and every listener, when you want to get close to God, that's a secretive spiritual experience that you do. And you become quiet. You practice your breathing, relaxing yourself, being still, inhaling, exhaling, because breath has a unique spiritual, energetic power in regard to your thought. Now, back to what you were talking about, everything that you're talking about in the African tradition, the answers lie within ourselves and in relation to what we're trying to get an answer to. Because guess what? We're all connected spirits to a divine creator.
Okay. All right. All
So
right.
let me shoot this back at Dr. Brown.
Okay.
So then, if our African spirituality is not about the individual, but about the collective and our God moments, if they are indeed intimate, would be kind of secret. You don't show your intimate moments to everybody. But if we are talking about the collective and moving away from individualism, and we are talking about a shared consciousness, how does our secret or secretive transcendent moments, how does that work with the collective?
It works this way, sis. When I once get in tuned and in touch with my pure self-realization, then I can move forward in the relationships of others. I I can relate with you all because I have begun to discover my self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it helps me to relate. Guess what? It even helps me to relate. Now, you ain't going to like this one. It helps me to relate to President Trump. It helps
Oh
me to
no.
it helps me to relate. It helps me to relate with the cultures that are so destructive now. Sudan, Gaza, Afghanistan, all of this violence is helping me to relate to the fact that I'm here, but yet and still I can have peace and I can still see a collective opportunity to be a servant.
All right. Very good, Dr. Brown. Very good. Now, scripturally, it's a principle. This is the very thing that I worked on Sunday night, on our live. This concept of first things first, this and then this and this and this. And our focus in Christianity is this, and then a personal something on the side. when it's not the order of the kingdom. In fact, we did this whole concept, this whole esoteric and African concept of the kingdom being both without and within. And so it is within, so it is without. What you see here is what you see here. The way you see this is the way you see this. It is all interconnected. Here's a scripture. Yeshua teaches us about praying in secret.
Mm.
When you get ready to pray, enter into your secret closet. It's not talking about a room in your house. Many times, particularly the prophetic people would shroud themselves in a talay. They would cover themselves as under a tent, like the tent of meetings. Um, and the God, watch this, when you pray, enter into your secret closet. He starts off talking about, I ain't going to tell you all of my secret, your secret closet, your place of responsible intimacy.
Mm.
You are responsible for your secret place with God, your secret intimacy with God. You are responsible to the collective for your individual responsibility to get recentered with your source, to discover your God by discovering yourself. It really should be the same thing. So he that prayeth in secret, watch, the God who not hears in secret, but who sees in secret. So that even our individual secret time with God is not about the abundance of words. It's about how we recenter and reposture ourselves with the holy. And the God who sees you in secret, not who hears your petitions. That ain't it. No, you don't need no secret about that. But the God who sees, not hears your articulation, but sees your posture, sees how much you are willing to do to transcend your own ego,
Mm.
to transcend your own thoughts, your doubts, your cares, your self limitations. How much time and energy you are willing to put into connecting or reconnecting with your source. The God who sees in secret will reward you publicly. So there is no health for the collective unless there is secret responsibility for the individual to realign with one source and to discover how the holy, how the divine breath, how the divine intellect of the multiverses expresses God's self in you. That was good, Dr. Brown.
Look at that.
Well articulated by my sister. I was hearing a little bit of Carl Jung also in there.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was
Absolutely.
young in there. Mhm.
Absolutely. And so when we, go back to those esoteric kinds of teaching of Yeshua versus the Christianizing interpretation of Paul and the inclusion of letters that ain't even from Paul, well, we kind of move from that back to these esoteric, these African spiritual teachings, these Essenic, Yehudite teachings. We're going to find out that what Jesus taught and what the church teaches, according to Paul, don't even match.
Nope. Nope. It don't match.
In fact, Dr. Gardner, it actually, those teachings actually keep us from revolting and rebelling. You want to tell us something about that?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. There is
Oh Lord.
oh yeah, we going there. We're going there. There is a an article that I ran across and is written by this scholar named Senner, Sener. His last name is Akturk, Akturk. And he wrote this article that was entitled, Why African Americans Do Not Rebel, and How Hierarchic Integration Prevents Rebellion. And so,
Say that again.
why African Americans do not rebel, and how hierarchic, like in hierarchy, how hierarchic integration, which is the same thing as assimilation, prevents rebellion. It's like there's something in our system that's built into our way of life as African Americans that will not allow us to rebel or allow us to, we're kind of soft with it. We're just kind of comfortable with it. But
Rebel against what?
Rebel against empire. And there's and the interesting thing is the guy does this comparison that there's roughly about 40 million people here, African Americans, in the United States.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Us minorities.
Us minorities
are more than 40 million deep.
More than 40 million deep.
There are some whole countries that don't have 40 million people.
There are some whole countries that don't have 40 million people. And there were things that why we as a country within a country, if you want to look at it like that, compared to other smaller African societies in decolonized polities, as it were, why that they're more apt to rebel. They're more apt to be unified in their efforts collectively, but we're not. And so there were 6 salient points that we were able to synthesize from this article that this guy read. And
what's the guy's name again?
It's Sener, Senner, and the last name is Akturk or Akturk. And he's a scholar of comparative politics, broadly defined, with a focus on comparative politics of ethnicity, religion, and nationalism. And so
it's Senner without a it auto-corrected. Senner, you guys, without a D. It auto-corrected. Okay.
Huh?
I put the man's name up, but it auto-corrected from Senner to Sender.
Okay, yes. Yeah. All right. So, you can go look at that. I mean, it's some heavy stuff, but there was what I found interesting is he used this particular, and Dr. Brown, you might be familiar with, you familiar with the scholar or the theory by Voigt, Vougt? Are you familiar with Voigt at all? Vogt's theory?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so, but there were, based upon this theory, that there are reasons why, even in our mass numbers, why we are not on the same page collectively to move forward. When you look at smaller numbers, there's a reason why they're able to do so and have done so, and in some cases picked up arms and so on and so forth. All right. So
can you give us those briefly?
Briefly. Here we go. Okay. The first salient point, and let me see if I can expand this for myself. All right.
Okay, so he's going to give us a little research on why it is that we are 40 million strong in this country and why we are still oppressed and we're okay with it.
That part. The first point is religious institutions promote nonviolence and endurance.
Okay. Religious institutions, whether that is for us, religious institution push with scripture, with doctrine, nonviolence, and docility,
Okay.
submission.
And so that's explained like this. For example, the Black church, especially in its Christian forms, has long emphasized moral endurance, suffering with dignity, and redemptive justice over violent rebellion.
Do it
Okay.
again, sir. There's a lot of words.
The Black church,
The Black church.
The church.
The
okay,
church.
the
He said the
church,
church.
the
But
church,
the black he don't like the black church because it's all one institution. It's not an organism. It's an
okay,
institution.
the institution, okay,
And we are part of the institution. But we know in reality for us in terms of consciousness and in terms of separatism, there's a black piece of this and the mother people. As he calls
okay,
it, the black experience. It's still the empire, but go ahead. The black
okay.
experience.
So
Don't act
the
like we ain't
church,
been taught, Dr. Gardner.
Thank you.
all right.
I
So
went through this years ago. I always said the church in the Black religious experience.
okay, so we'll buy that. The church in the Black religious experience, especially in Christian forms, has long emphasized moral endurance, suffering with dignity, and redemptive justice over violent rebellion. Now,
Okay.
and there was a couple of individuals which were leaders like Martin Luther King inherited and amplified these theological commitments. Nonviolence is taught as a spiritual virtue, noted rooted in Jesus' suffering, turning protest into moral witness rather than armed resistance. Okay,
Yep.
um,
And then he
religion
says, I led my people, I believe. I'd have
into a
led my
burning house.
people into a burning house.
Okay,
And then they
so
take him out.
so a subset of that is religion channels anger into reformist theology, not militant theology. So
Okay. Religion channels anger into what?
reformist theology.
Reformist theology. In other words, all we want to do is reform the present system so we can get ours, not realizing the present system is not designed for us to ever get ours.
Okay,
So we don't want to overturn it. We don't want to dismantle it. We simply want to stay in it and reform it.
right. Okay. Here's a second salient point.
All of that was one.
That was one.
Hurry up
But
before we lose Dr. Brown, please.
okay, hierarchic integration offers limited participation, not revolution. African Americans are deeply embedded in the hierarchies of American society, in government, military, religion, and business. This integration,
The
listen up,
integration of what?
African Americans are deeply embedded in the hierarchies of American societies, in
Okay,
government,
African
military,
Americans are embedded,
embedded.
deeply embedded into the hierarchies of Western or American society. We are deeply embedded spiritually, psychologically, economically, in every way. We are actually displaced, put in something, and now we're deeply embedded in it because everything has been taken from us and we got to hold on to something. So
Okay.
this is what we
She
hold
just
on
said,
to.
sounds like she just said, we're deeply embedded in hell.
Oh my.
Oh, no.
Oh
Okay.
no.
Oh, yeah.
If this ain't hell, I don't know what it is, but okay. So listen to this. This integration, creates a paradox. Visible inclusion without power.
Okay. The integration or the assimilation into a hierarchy gives the illusion that you are as they. You are in even some of their positions. You even may have some of their money, some of their ideals and principles, but we ain't got no power.
No power.
It's
Okay.
the
See, as
illusion.
she's just described, we delusional. This that we're in makes us delusional.
Makes us delusional. Okay. So the American dream is delusional for African Americans. Okay, leave it. Leave it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Here's the other piece of that. Because African Americans are inside the system as citizens, voters, workers, even clergy, they often resist through reform rather than revolt.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. The way we resist any oppression, those that do, is to say, let's reform the empire so we can fit comfortably.
So we can fit comfortably. All right.
We're not looking to, again, dismantle. We're not looking, again, to deconstruct. We're not looking, again, to demand justice. We just need to make a few pieces so we're comfortable.
Okay.
She's
Oh,
made it
what a
clear.
pathology.
Whatever else is said, it still fit into that consciousness of we're not going to change things. We're going to make it work where we can adapt.
There you go. That's
We're gonna
it.
make. We're not gonna change anything. We're gonna make it so we can adapt.
That's what we've known for. I remember my daddy telling me at the age of 5 of what they used to say about black people. We are good imitators. Dad, now my dad and his family are ex-slaves. We were able to imitate, and in our ability to imitate, even the dictionary was saying we were imitators.
My,
Mm.
my.
Even the dictionary,
Yeah,
Webster even said it. Webster.
but the dynamics of what you have just articulated is the reality. If we look at it, we are great adapters. That's what makes us so strong in
Okay.
in regard to a system. Now,
In regard to a system.
I'm not trying to get in my sister's field because adaptation can have certain amount of psychological imperatives, commands, and
Okay.
they do.
All right.
But we are good, and see with what has happened in the, let's say, the physical realm of our different color complexions. You know, light skin, dark skin. If you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're metal. If you're black, get back. That was kind of in the ethos of our thinking when I was growing up.
It
I,
ain't gone.
and it ain't gone.
It's
And
not.
and the dynamics, I'll say this, I remember many of the dynamic black preachers that I knew, that I knew many of them from the ages of the period of the 1930s and 20s. Their wives were what?
Right.
High yellow.
Hmm. So what you've described
And
there,
and
Dr.
and
Brown.
and what is high yellow? Because I find it extremely offensive. What is high yellow?
High yellow meant that they were light skinned and had an appearance of white women.
All right. It also meant that they were highfalutin.
Yeah.
This was not
Oh,
just
now
this
you
was
taking it to that whole. You're correct, sis.
no. Oh, I
Going
know I'm correct.
to the
Mm, yeah,
gilded edge of the gilded dynamic, that the elite were personalities tied into the color complexion.
absolutely. So this was class, the
Class.
ability to pass, or very close to it. And it had to do again with being highfalutin. That's where high came from. High has nothing to do with the color of the skin.
Highfalutin. That's good old words. We like
This is
this.
highfalutin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people still use it. That's why I say it's not gone. Oh, was she
No.
high yellow? You don't even know what that means with your ignorant self.
Right.
And I find you're just ignorant, or they blue black. You know, they so black, you don't trust them when they that black. You know, this whole concept of the blacker they are, the
The
more
sweeter the
silent.
juice. The blacker the berries, the sweeter the juice down.
That part that's got to do with sex.
Yeah, it was
Um,
about sex. And so we had it in all
yeah,
categories.
that's about sex, absolutely. But the whole part of black get back, or the whole part of um um you
Round
know
stick
the
around.
that whole part of if they were real black, you really couldn't trust them. You know, still water run deep, and all kinds of tropes and stereotypes that we ascribe to skin color. Unfortunately, we still operate in those same uh,
Paradigm.
ignorances and okay, I'll call them paradigms. Okay, I'll call them paradigms and patterns. That's why I said it's still there. That while we slept, an enemy came in and Willie lynched us so that we are separated, or we still have stereotypes. And the way I know it, I still hear the bull crap. Or I still hear the people in the middle don't get nothing. You don't get nothing. There's nothing assigned to you. It's these two extremes as though they are dichotomies. And so we are still doing that. We still assign certain negativities to dark women and to light women. We have certain stereotypes about light men and dark men, and we still believe that dark men choose light women and light women choose dark men and all this stuff, or some lights choose light because they don't want dark children. All kinds of stuff is in our experience and in our inability to see our beauty in the diversity, and not even understanding genetics. We have no concept of genetics. I can't tell y'all how many times somebody say, "Is somebody in your family white?" Not that I know of. Not that I know of. No. Well, are your parents like? No. Grandparents like? Granddad is black as boots, both of them. You know, just the stuff that we have incorporated into our belief system about us. This is also part of the reason, Dr. Gardner, that we have a difficult time being a people, because what we have done is we have imitated, if you will, although the people calling us imitators are the real imitators. They're the erasers and replacers. They're the real imitators. They're projecting. But what has separated us is we have copied hierarchy within our being on the bottom rung.
Okay, let me. This dialogue is great, and there's a comment. What this is, you can see of the subtlety of the hierarchy of colorism,
Yes,
the subtlety, and that's that illusion, Dr. Brown, is that this colorism is part of the hierarchy, and we practice that, and that divides us, and we're not able to come together. And
right.
so we got some things that are going on that we've adopted um, that's really detrimental. And we, in order for us to really to break free, we've got to identify the lies. Some of them are clever, some of them are these subtle hierarchies that we've adopted, that colorism, light to dark. And if we believe that stuff and we regurgitate that stuff, then that stuff has got us stuck. Okay, so that's part of it.
It is
Um,
part of it. And I want us to understand this, um, since Dr. Brown uh, has given us some information from our elders who have gone on before us. And we've gotten some information from the white folks who have defined us again by their own projection, when they, in fact, are the real imitators of everything. Uh, um, but I want to reiterate one of the reasons why it is difficult for us as a people, as a collective, to revolt against our chronic oppression,
mhm.
our chronic injustice, chronic genocide, is because we have taken the hierarchy, the illusion and delusion of hierarchy, and put hierarchy among ourselves. So
Oh,
that among ourselves, Tyler Perry, you have the haves and the have-nots. Among ourselves, we have colorism that exists in families, that exists in the marketplace, that exists in the church. We have genderism, or sexism is even better, that exists. And so what we have done is taken religion. We have taken our integration into the system. We have taken the language of the religion, the language of the institution, the language of the academy, brought that into our sphere. And now, although we are on the very bottom rung of the hierarchy, we are on the bottom, y'all, the bottom. The numbers don't lie. We are on the bottom rung, and we've got the bodacious nerve and unmitigated gall to set up hierarchy on the bottom rung, alluding and deluding ourselves that we've got house niggas and we still got field niggas, and the house niggas are still better. We still believe that because we got this and we drive this and we have red on the bottoms and we are on platforms and we've got money and got millions, we think that we are as they are, still with no rank, still with no power, still with no decision making ability. And it is the delusion and illusion that we are something that we are not, because we are still on the bottom. So those who are at the top of the hierarchy among our people are still on the bottom, but they don't know that. There's where the delusion is. And so it is difficult for us to rebel, because among us, we've created hierarchies. And black women ain't in that. They're on the bottom of that.
Okay. So, oh, this is kind of fiery tonight. Love it. Here's the thing, and that's just the second point. There's about 4 other points.
All right, let's do 2.
Um, for Dr. Brown had to parachute out. Let's see here.
He's flunked, but go ahead.
Here's the other piece to this. Okay, let me pull this up real quick. Watch this. Listen to this. This is still part of 2 of the second bullet, second salient point. Integration breeds hope for change within, making rebellion seem unnecessary or illegitimate.
Do it again. Good God.
Integration breeds hope for change from within, comma, making rebellion seem unnecessary or illegitimate.
Right, because we're not quite there, but we're already in. We're not quite there, but we're almost like them. We're not quite there. So we don't need to do all of that because we too far in. We too close to
We're too
heaven
close.
to
Okay.
turn around now.
All right. So here's the third salient point. Now this one got me.
Mm-hmm.
Shared faith with the dominant group inhibits revolt. Let me explain that. Many African Americans practice the same religion, Christianity, as their historical oppressors.
All right. Many African Americans practice the same religion, changing their internal constitution, changing their internal individual and collective agency, changing their collective consciousness, when in their collective unconscious, they know that this is antithetical to who they are. In their DNA is the sacred memory of the ancestors, of the God of all creation. In their DNA is the divine feminine that is responsible for all creation. In the words of my Greek teacher, Dr. Boykin Sanders, who wrote Sounding the Alarm. Y'all need that book. He says, glory is between the legs of a black woman.
Oh, no.
Yeah. All creation came through our hips. Come on here. In your DNA, you know that. That sacred memory is etched in your DNA. But at a very conscious level, we are completely assimilated, practicing the same religion that allowed them to colonize melanated countries and nations all over this world. The same religion that was leading the Crusades and Jim Crow, the same religion that caused them to burn crosses in our yards and to burn down our cities and our municipalities. We are practicing the same religion, thereby being psychologically intertwined and enmeshed with the psychology of our oppressors.
So it's problematic now because we share this history. This creates a shared moral universe where oppressors and oppressed read the same Bible and profess the same God. All right.
Yep.
Second point.
Which means you got to renounce your God.
Right.
In order to embrace a God who has no problem with injustice and has no problem with killing the dignity of creation, the whole creation.
All right.
That's well put.
Dr. Brown?
Well put there. No, that was well put. The way you put it there. The way you put it there. Because everything and everything that I'm hearing just reaches back to something that I had to learn and have been in my work and experiences. We're still trying to be accepted by white folk. Even people come to church to accept Christ. Hell, Christ has already accepted you. God has already accepted you. You've got to accept your own acceptance. And we want to be accepted by the white hierarchy and all them other descriptions, adjectives that's been given, and don't realize our true selves.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what happens here
becomes, how do we get and teach our people how to come to self-realization? What are the methods? What are the techniques to get us to become pure selves, collective, everything that we're talking about the oppressor has done? How do we liberate ourselves?
Oh, well, I think
the one of the things, and I think we just didn't get to it, was one of the reasons we can't rebel is because we don't have a shared language.
And that's the next point. That's the next point. We don't have a shared language. But the one thing, my last point on 3 was this, that because of the shared faith that we have with the oppressor, it blurs enemy lines, discouraging violent confrontation and instead promoting the idea that America can be redeemed.
All right, do that one more time.
It says, okay, this blurs, this shared faith with the dominant group inhibits revolt. This blurs enemy lines.
It blurs enemy lines because you can't see your oppressor as your enemy when your oppressor is your teacher and your God.
That's powerful. And this discourages violent confrontation. And instead, what it does, it promotes the idea that America can be redeemed. Hence, this statement, if we serve the same God, then we must reform the system, not destroy it.
Is that why we're supporting the Gaza genocide?
Absolutely.
Lord Jesus.
Absolutely, because we have shared religious beliefs.
Okay. So now to your point about this language issue, is the lack of distinct national language limits separatist identity. So we can't even separate our identity from those that don't look like us. We can't, because we have a shared, we don't have a national, we don't have a separate identity. Unlike many decolonized African societies, African Americans do not have a unifying ethnic language, which means these 2 points. Without a defined language like Yoruba, Wolof, or Swahili, there's no linguistic boundary to foster separatist nationalism. Second point, instead, African Americans speak English, reinforcing linguistic assimilation and psychological integration into American identity.
Yep. We are completely immersed into American identity because we speak their language. Y'all ever go get your nails done? Or you go in the shop with some other, maybe Arabs or something, and when they need to have a conversation, you sit there and they start and you saying, I wonder if they're talking about me. We don't know what they're talking about because they have a shared language.
They have a shared language.
And they're able to communicate without us knowing what the communication is about. Even in slavery and anti-slavery, we were still able, with signals, with certain sound, with drums, with the percussiveness of our feet on the ground, we were still able to communicate a sound that massa didn't understand.
She's
That's
going
why
back to
they
she's
go
going to
ahead.
South Carolina down in the Gullah and go over there from Virginia all the way down to because I've been over that. They still got some worship styles that blew my mind in regard to using another sound, even in regard to testimony. They wasn't speaking English. They was what we call it Gullah.
Gullah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Gullah.
and
I got a
my New
book on that.
Testament mentor, uh, um, Dr. Boykin Sanders, is Gullah. He's still got that. He's still got the. Even though he lived in Philadelphia for a long time, and of course he's been at Virginia Union forever. Now he's a distinguished professor, but he still has that kind of almost West Indian sound
Yeah.
in the dialect. And so, as you ask us, Dr. Brown, what can we do since we don't have a language? Well, I'm glad you asked. If we go back to something in terms of our spirituality, even though that's in English, conceptually, it is so African that Europeans can't understand it. This is why they demonized us, although they copied everything from us. This is why they demonized our worship. This is why they demonized ancestral veneration. It's not the same there as they call it here. They don't know anything about being able to stand at a tree and embrace a tree and then communicate with the God of nature because God made the tree and the DNA of God is in the tree. They don't know nothing about that. This is why everything we've done has been weaponized and demonized against us because it is a language that they do not understand.
Right.
They do not get it. Now,
Can
what
I
just happened? What
can
happened to
I add
Dr.
one
Gardner?
thing?
Yeah, come on.
You have said it all, but you left out one. They
What's
have
that?
they economized and have enterprised us, and everything you described in our behavior. We make money for them in regard to economy. I mean, look how they make money off of us.
Absolutely.
And that's what
Absolutely.
gets them. That's what gets them excited. And
Absolutely.
if we wasn't doing it in America, go to Europe. And then we hit it big based on our projection, our uniqueness, bring
Yes.
it back here. So it's an economic enterprise.
It's an economic enterprise, and we are conditioned
There
to
you go.
sow into it. We
Yes.
are conditioned to make them wealthy. We are conditioned, even when we are overworked, underpaid, bad insurance, and all of this stuff. We're going to take everything we got and put it back in that system, and make them wealthier and wealthier. One of the greatest ways that we do that is with technology and electronics. We got to have the newest this. Our kids are 10 and they got $1,200 phones. But why didn't you invest $1,200 when they were 8 and 9 on their education, on helping them to buy property and land once they become mature? We put all of that, we're conditioned to put all of that money back in the same system, underpaid. Now they're making trillions off of us, underpaying us. And then we take everything we got and put it back in that system, trying to cover that we are something else. So if we look this way, if we drive this way, if we wear this, then we are not like the people in bedroom shoes, pajamas, and bonnets. No, you are those people. Shame on you, African Americans or Africans in America or indigenous Africans, whatever you call yourself. Shame on you that you should look down on your own people and feel like you are above them. You are your people from the top to the bottom. Understand that hierarchy is decidedly European, Eurocentric. It is unnatural. The universe doesn't operate that way. The universe operates in circles and cycles and seasons. Y'all heard it. Big Mama say what goes around comes around. Y'all know this intuitively, but we have bought into this whole thing. And while we are acting like we're all this with our money at the top, understand you still at the bottom. It's an illusion. And so to your question, Dr. Brown, yeah, that's what we call them, ghetto. And that's ghetto. And that's ghetto. Sometimes we do be a little bit ashamed because it's like, really, y'all? And that's because we are assimilated. Maybe we are just white ghetto with black skin. How
Oh,
about that?
no. Look, you mentioned something, you guys are hot. I'm
Look,
trying to keep up with you. But anyway, you mentioned something about Gullah. This book right here, Africanism in the Gullah dialect. You get a
Get a
chance,
Gullah Bible. I got a Gullah Bible 30 years ago. Woo!
get this book. And then if that one don't suit your fancy, there's another book here about Africanisms. And that's Africanism in the American culture. Yeah. So these are things, look, there's no reason why none of us shouldn't be enlightened. There's no reason why none of us shouldn't be informed.
uh-huh.
So part of the solution to those who ask the question is to raise the level of awareness where the problem exists. How are we going to be able to move forward in progress if we don't know there's a problem? I need to know where the enemy is at that's sown this. And I need to know what the enemy looks like.
You
So
need to know what was sown. And then we will need those who are masters or owners in the harvest who know the timing to separate the wheat from the tare.
True.
We need that. And to Dr. Brown's, I want to answer that, trying to get to it. But part of our recapturing, we don't have a language. But when we understand the concept of semunye, we are one. Ubuntu, I am because you are. Sankofa, it is not taboo to go back and fetch what you have lost. Go back to your roots. These are concepts that I'm telling you, they can't understand it. They would have to be enlightened. And something Larry Reed say even when the oppressor wants to be woke, in order to guide them through the process of deconstruction, it's got to have a black hand in it. It's got to have a black hand in it. They can't deconstruct themselves because they're too immersed in what has benefited them. But when we begin to go back to our spirituality, our African spirituality, those are communications, those are practices culturally that reconnect us with the soil, reconnect us with the ancestors, reconnect us with the Yeshua of history, reconnect us with the ancient prophets. It reconnects us in a language that is spiritual, in a posture that is collective, that they can't understand. So the movement and repentance for us is not to ask Jesus to come into our hearts and just repeat Romans 10:9 and 10.
Wow.
There must be a collective repentance for Black people who have entered into a long-standing idolatry where they have renounced everything that God gave them, everything that is inherent with us. We've renounced and adopted something else, and that has become our rubric. That has become our measuring stick. That has become our paradigm. That's what we measure ourselves against, and that's why we can't ever revolt. We can't ever deconstruct. We can't ever reconstruct. But the way to do that is to go back to our spirituality. It represents a cosmic. It represents a cultural at the cellular level. Yeah, communication with each other that other people don't understand. Your mama said it like this: when you moan, ooh, they say when you moan, the devil don't know what you're talking about. The devil is your oppressor. The devil is your slave master. The devil is those who are watching you because they fear if we ever become one. The people is one. This is the Genesis 11 account. Now that they speak one language,
Here it
and
is.
they imagine together, collective imagination. Nothing that they as a collective imagine will be impossible to them. They know this, but you don't know this. The people not are one. I like the King James here. The people is one. Let's confound their language. Let's confound their ability to communicate. But in your African soul, you can communicate without ever opening your mouth. When you moan, the devil don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Lord. Dr. Brown.
Well, you know, I got to step out. That's why I was giving you the signal, but well put. And I agree that we have to move to teaching how to become spiritual with the self before we can become spiritual collectively.
That's correct.
That's a 2 point. Okay.
And we are now back where we started.
Yeah. And I have to leave you now, but we'll get back together.
We'll see you
All
next
right,
time, Doc.
we'll
Okay.
see you next time. All right. So thank you. We so appreciate you. Let's give it up for Dr. Brown. Um, our elder, he brings such wisdom and balance to our conversations. But I want us to just take a little bit of time. Did you have any more of this that you wanted to give
Oh,
us?
we can save the rest of that for next week if you want to move further, because it does point out other problems. So we can make that part of the next conversation, at least those, because there are three more. There are three more points.
Okay.
And so we can just go on what you got.
Okay. So we want to okay. We do it with our facial expressions, the movement of our bodies. We speak without speaking. We do it even in our breathing. We do it in our breathing. We create frequencies that we used to could pick up. We used to could signal each other all the way across church with a look.
No
And we knew
look.
what that meant. Me
Mm-hmm.
and my mother still do it. Okay, certain looks. We have all of this at our disposal. And just like just like they do it, we need to use that. They're still thanking Dr. Brown. I hate when these things come in late like this.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted him to see that. But just like they do that, we have to use our stuff so they don't know what we talking about either. All right. And
Yeah.
we wanted to review just briefly and get to this third point of the major tenets of African spirituality. We want to review again for those who need a reminder for your reminder, and for those who are joining us for the first time or you missed it last week. Spirituality in the African cosmology is a way of life. It is not a specific belief system. Even after the death of Yeshua, the many sects of Jesus' followers,
Mm-hmm.
they were not a monolith. There were many sects, even of Yehudites in Jesus' day. He was of John's sect. We believe he was an Essenic. So they never fought about who was right. They didn't do that. That was the job of Pharisees and stuff. And that just turned into something else as they assimilated under Roman domination. But there was not a monolith. There was no single belief system. Here is your proof. Master teacher, Rabboni, you got people over there that is coming on our screen and stealing our content. They ain't with us. They taking our stuff. And Jesus said, leave them alone. But Master, they're preaching our stuff, but they ain't part of our movement. Watch this. It's riveting. If they are not against the movement, if they are not against what they are doing, then they are for us or they are still with us. So there was diversity in the first century. In the second century, there was not even a single belief system about who and what Jesus was. It was diverse. All right. So all of this stuff is only the way we believe and only what you've been taught and all of this stuff that is using fear tactics and conditioning from the empire. African spirituality is a way of life, not a belief system. Again, you may want to look at the works of Mbiti. Some call him MBD. I don't know. Mbiti, M-B-I-T-I. M-B-I-T-I. He emphasized that in African thought, spirituality is not compartmentalized. So there is no separation of your spirituality and your social engagements, your social interactions, your work, your play. It's all part of the same thing. It is not a compartment or a department. It permeates every aspect of life. Your spirituality is part of your birth. It is part of death. It is part of agriculture, justice, marriage, morality, raising children, having fun. It is lived, it is practiced, and it is experienced in the rhythms of daily experience. For us, God is out here. We have religious doctrine. Here it is. We said it today, Dr. Gardner. We are fighting each other for competitive reasons. And we are fighting each other over the slave master's religion. We killing each other within and we still on the bottom, fighting each other rather than fighting them. That's why
Fighting
it's
for the
easier.
bottom.
Yeah,
We're
that's why it's
fighting for the
easier to
bottom.
kill yourself than to kill your oppressor because you know they violent and you know the system is corrupt. Yet, this is the same systems we use even in the church. Lord have mercy. Let me move on. All right. Africans are notoriously spiritual. Their religion or their practice, and it's scientific, it's not just spiritual, permeates all departments of life so fully that it's not easy or it is possible to isolate it. Mbidi wrote this in 1969. This is how far
Wow.
behind we are. Okay. Number two, one of the second principles we did on last week. Communal and ancestral connection is central to your existence. It is central to your spirituality. Mbidi and former colleague, well, late colleague of mine, Kofi Cambone, both assert that identity is relational, not individualistic. Identity is relational. You can
Wow.
only know yourself through healthy relationships. Relationships are mirrors. Marriage is mirror. Uh, uh, Covenantal relationships are cutting. They cut away the excess until the twain become one. And so this is why people don't make it in marriage, because of the cutting away of the individual stuff that does not serve the institution of family and marriage. We need to understand this. You do not know yourself outside of healthy relationship. And if we are badly bruised in terms of self-identity, self-concept, self-value, and self-esteem, it is because something else has been introduced in
Hmm.
our relationships that do not correctly mirror who we are. You
Hmm.
cannot know you without the collective. So all of you who don't like people, you don't like yourself.
Oh,
All right?
no.
All of you, people get on your nerves. You get on your nerves yourself. Lord have mercy. All right. And so, this idea, the living are spiritually also connected to the ancestors, or what they term as the living dead, who continue to influence and guide the community. We don't have no problem with it in Hebrews, seeing that we are camped about with a great cloud of witnesses. That's like up, I mean, it's very Greek. It's not really African. Very Greek about people being up in the stands, in the upper part of the stands, while we now are taking the race. They have the race. Now they are rooting for us. That's the idea. With these who died in the faith, we are supposed to finish what they didn't finish. We are supposed to be the carriers of divine and ancestral precious promises. They died in the faith, never receiving the promise. We are supposed to be the next leg of the race, racing towards obtaining what God has divinely promised us ancestrally. So if we can break you from your ancestral lineage, you will never get the promise that was given them, because in order to receive the promise, you still must be in that line of succession. And so they needed to break us from that. And so even the honoring of the ancestors is a sacred duty that maintains balance and continuity. It's not worship. People, they lying to you. It is not worship. It is a form of relational honor and spiritual accountability to those who have suffered, bled, and died before you, or who died without seeing the fullness of what they saw afar off. If they saw it afar off, they saw you in it. But if we can sever and solder you from it, we can never have it, because it is in a lineage to be passed down and to be given to the next group of sons and daughters. So separating you from it while promising you that God's gonna favor you, and that God favors you above all people, and favor ain't fair, all of that faggot foolishness.
Oh,
But
no.
they're teaching you something that does not even work. You don't understand that the favor is on those who died in the faith, and it was counted to them for righteousness, not because they did everything right and they did not make mistakes, but because collectively they
Collectively.
carried out their assignment and believed God for the redemption of a people. All right. Cambone frames this as African self-consciousness, which
What happened? Pause one moment. She'll be right back.
All right, we're back. Bishop. All right, I'm back. Where are you? Y'all see this foolishness tonight? All right. Here we go. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we fell off. Did you finish that for me?
I told him, I said, you'll be right back.
So, anywho, as I was saying before we so rudely interrupted, you went out one time, so I don't know if that was on purpose, and Dr. Brown is gone. But as we look back into this now, um, we can't we 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 can't heal without each other. We can't know us. I think it was something in the Gospel of Thomas, Dr. Brown. I mean, Dr. Gardner. Something in the Gospel of Thomas is kind of like, if you will not know yourself, you kind of like are separated from God. And if you're separated from that, you're separated from the divine breath. What's in you, if it doesn't come out of you, what's in you will eventually destroy you. What God put in you, your godness, was designed to solve a problem for the collective. When your godness fails to find healthy expression among the collective, when you don't know yourselves, you will not be known. When you do know yourselves, you will be known. And so, if you do not get out of you what God has wired in you, then what God has wired in you that is given to you to annihilate something, to correct something, to deconstruct something, to put something back into place. that thing will begin to destroy you. And so without our African spirituality, a return to we-ness, then we really can't know ourselves. And people who don't know themselves, I hate to say it, they are people who also don't know God.
Mm. Wow.
You can't know God and not know you because you came out of God. You can't not know the ancestors because you came through them. Check your navel. Your navel said you came through something. Nothing that you have is yours. Nothing. Nothing. You are nothing that you have is yours. It is uniquely packaged, but it comes through the DNA, through conception, through gestation, through travail and pushing out of the wombed man. So I don't understand how you can have a God that excludes the thing that brings all life here. It doesn't make sense. If they can keep us separate, even by sex, if they can keep us confused about gender, about sex, about reproducing. That's why they keep sticking stuff on us, calling it civil rights, LGBT. Understand, people, they are getting the black church to work their agenda. To work their agenda to keep black seed out of a black womb at any cost. Wake up, people. If you reconnect, you'll begin to see that what your ancestors have pioneered before you is already a path there because they pioneered it. There's no separation between heaven and earth. As it is in heaven, so it is in earth. There's no separation. Thy will be done in earth, not on the celestial ball, in your creation collectively, individually and collectively. As it is in heaven, so must it be inside of us. Dr. Brown started us with the kingdom of God is within you. It is within you and without. Here's why they do not want you to know that. Because if you ever connect with the God in you, you will not need to have a God outside of you that looks like your oppressor.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, yes.
You have been watching The Doctors Are In.
My Lord.
We are at our time, and what we're going
Bishop,
to do.
let's I want to put this piece, and maybe this will be our jump off piece, because we did say we were going to try to um we're going to try to add a third tenet about and this is a good jump off place for us, about even the laws of Ma'at.
Okay.
What
Okay.
what Ma'at is. Many people don't even know, if the truth be told, that many of what we call 10 commandments, remember now, Moses knows everything about Egyptian culture. He was the creme de la creme. He was the creme de la creme um, uh, of the Egyptian culture. He's in the Pharaoh's house. He is the upper echelon. All he knows is African Egyptian religions, all right, and the spirituality in them. And so it wasn't uncommon. Matter of fact, they're the common sayings, the things that bring us in common. These laws bring us in common. Although we speak different languages, although we have different cultures, although we have different beliefs and mores, these laws, common laws, common laws of Ma'at were our way of accountability to one another. That what we did individually, we coming back where we started, what we did individually affected the collective. The decisions we made individually to honor what we came out of and came through is what kept the community growing and thriving. And so those 10 commandments pretty close to the 42 common sayings of Ma'at. Ma'at is about justice. We don't know about that no more. A few of us do. Ma'at is about balance. The
Mm-hmm.
church don't teach balance
Mm-mm.
like that. Even when we teach that from a European Western perspective. Ma'at is about balance. It is about justice. It is about oneness. Oneness being a people. You said something um, um, that we're not going to be able to do this singly as an individual. I said to you, we're talking about our stuff, that many of us are maxed out for what we're doing as individuals. It may get a little deeper, may get a little wider, but for many of us, we are at the point of max in terms of what we're doing. But the collective, the anointing on the collective,
Mm-hmm.
the power on the collective, the mantle of the whole and not the individual is what is going to bring us out of oppression. It's going to cause some things to unravel. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
cause some things to deconstruct, some things to decompress, and some things to just begin to fall like dominoes. But we must have something that brings us in common. And I think next week we could begin to, maybe this is a good jump off point for us. What do you think?
I think so. And and one of the things that will go along with that is that in order to implement and to matriculate and navigate this path, you got to be patient, you got to be wise, you got to have courage. Because if I don't have any courage, I'll do what the parable said. I'll be happy about it, and none will receive it with joy. But after a while, when the pressure starts coming in, I
See?
start to cower back. And that's, you know, you got to have courage. Even in all that you've heard thus far, as you meditate upon these things till we come together next week, know this:
Mhm.
in order to implement, we got to have courage. Courage is one of the things, is that one of those things from within that helps us to live out my art, help us to live out the teachings of Yeshua, help us to be able to deal with the pressures that will come against you that will say that you're a heretic or don't take all that. You know, I mean, this is a reality.
Yeah,
This is a reality. And I'm telling you, the resistance is not going to come outside the church. It's going to come from within. I'll leave it alone.
absolutely. And let us encourage those of you who are um, beginning to feel signs of movement, those of you who are beginning to wake up, and those of you who are beginning uh, to come alive and your eyes are coming open. You can't share everything you learn with those who are embedded in the system. You
Right.
can't always convince those who are enmeshed emotionally and psychologically. Understand that when you take everything just about from a people and you give them something else, they gonna make that something else. Can't nobody even do our stuff like us.
Mm-mm.
We're gonna take a hymn and put a clap to it and everything else and sing it till we sing the Jesus out of it. We're gonna put our spin on it. But understand, we are very enmeshed in it, emotionally tied to doctrine and stuff like that
Wow.
because we took the other stuff and it's all we got. It's all we got. We don't know that there is something else that we had. They don't know that it's something else, that even though you suppress truth, truth will rise up out of the rubble. It'll
Uh,
rise up of the soil. It'll come out of graves. Lord have mercy. Truth will resurrect. And we are in the hour where suppressed, crucified, okay, killed, murdered, silenced, erased truth is going to begin to resurface. Even in that, we must not just take off of one thing and go to another extreme. We're going to get the same results. And that's going to be the separation of us.
mhm,
But we must learn to find discipline and balance with our creator, with the creation, within ourselves, and with one another. You are no good to me until you are some good to yourself.
mm, mm, mm. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well,
All right.
you've been watching The Doctors Are In. Pray for what's going on. There's just been an earthquake that just happened in Russia. And
What's that?
they've just had an earthquake that happened in Russia. And there's a tsunami alert issued for Japan, Alaska, Hawaii, and the U.S. West Coast after a major earthquake strikes Russia remote Far East.
Yeah, y'all pray for my brother. My brother is in Japan.
Yeah.
Is in Japan on a ship. Yeah. So we are seeing what is happening right before our eyes.
Yeah.
This ain't Jesus is coming.
Mm-mm.
This ain't Jesus is on his way back. Jesus been on his way back ever since they said it in the 3rd century. In the 2nd century, they were still waiting for that because we missed all of the meaning, the hidden meaning of Scripture. But these things turn or point to a time that prophetically most of our prophets can't even interpret.
Mm,
This ain't just about the last days. This is about the days of an era. And
mhm,
this is about creation being in rebellion against its creator.
mm,
And this is about my people needing to repent and return, not just to the stories we were told, but to who they are and
mm,
to whom they are from. If the other folks, and we do it too, can pray to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, why are we keeping that lineage there, but denouncing our own? Lord have mercy. Lord Jesus. Um, yeah, it, we just need to understand prophetically what is happening. You monk with Mother Earth. Mother Earth now is clapping back. You monk with Africa. It won't be long until Africa remembers that it has been bamboozled. Some of their prophets now are calling them to return to themselves right on their own soil. And if you mess with our mothers, we gonna clap back. Mother Nature clapping back. Mother Earth clapping back. Come on. And so we want to be mindful and we want to be prayerful people that we are in critical times. And it is because humanity is in rebellion against the Creator and God's creation.
all right. You've been watching The Doctors Are In. See you next week.
All right. Look, now I'm on another device. And all you know how to, okay. All we gotta do, I look.